We see them nearly every day, but seldom do we know their stories. On the surface, they're tired, broken down old buildings whose usefulness has long since passed. But look closer. Peer into the shattered glass. Walk the weed-grown pathways. Feel the decayed wood. You begin to get a sense of history, a sense of place. Every day, more and more of these sites vanish from the landscape. Without them, the story of Colorado's past becomes incomplete. Saving those that remain is crucial to preserving our state's rich history. These are Colorado's most endangered places. Hello, and welcome to Colorado's most endangered places. I'm Dave Aguilera. I'm here along Cherry Creek in downtown Denver. Looking around, there's no question that urban development has significantly altered this landscape from Denver's early days. One major question for city planners has always been what to do with the old as they plan for the new. It's always easy just to bulldoze the old, but when you do that, you risk losing your identity and the ties to what made your community what it has become. That's where historic preservationists come into play. They help communities identify places which tell the stories which are important to the local history, whether the risk to these sites is from development or neglect. The preservationists work with local communities to make sure that the stories that shape local history are not lost. Every year, Colorado Preservation Incorporated places new sites on their Colorado's Most Endangered Places list. These sites are nominated by local community groups who want to preserve important elements of their history. CPI then works with these groups to get them financial and practical resources they need in order to keep their local stories alive. Tonight, we're going to take a look at 3 sites which made the list this year. Our first site is actually a collection of sites, 46 to be exact, and some of them look just like this. When the railroads removed their train yards, they left behind these steel truss bridges. And rather than removing them, the city planners repurposed them as pedestrian walkways. Now, the Colorado Department of Transportation is taking a similar look at their bridges across the state. They're looking to balance the historic nature of these bridges with the growing transportation needs of Colorado's drivers.
When you see this bridge, you know you're in Red Cliff.
The High Arch Bridge at Red Cliff, Colorado rises 209 feet above the Eagle River.
Bridges can tell stories. As artifacts, they can reveal the history of a county, a town, a state.
Walking under the arches of Red Cliff Bridge transports Kathy Hiker back to the 1930s.
The Red Cliff Bridge is an artifact that came out of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's economic recovery programs during the Great Depression. That was a time when the federal government kicked in a lot of money for road improvements to both jumpstart the economy, and also the improvements were needed.
For 2 years, workers braved frigid temperatures, suspended high above the river below.
There are stories of workers spending the entire day on this bridge. They were hoisted up in buckets or on platforms. They packed their lunches with them. And when the workers left, the kids would come out, and they used the structure like monkey bars on a school playground.
The bridge would eliminate 2 miles of steep, narrow mountain roads.
A columnist, actually for the state legislature, came and saw the bridge, and he wrote about this is the end of the white-knuckle drivings where you're praying that you'll get past Red Cliff.
Travelers crossing the bridge can appreciate its utility and beauty as they round Battle Mountain. But many times we cross bridges without even knowing it.
Oftentimes we go from point A to point B in a bit of a hurry, right? And are thinking more about how we get there than what we're looking at while we're en route.
The Colorado Department of Transportation wants to see more attention placed on historic bridges. Director Shoshana Liu believes they play an important role in cultural identity.
Things like roads and bridges, are extraordinarily important for the utility of getting where we need to go today. But they also can take us back to periods of time that are foundational, for the sort of culture of Colorado.
CDOT studied their bridges with an eye for history and practicality.
First and foremost, we need it to work. I mean, many of these bridges don't work for today's purposes, so you can't just keep them the way they were. And oftentimes it's very expensive to try and upgrade in place.
They identified 46 bridges in their system, which have historic value and a high probability of being preserved.
This bridge behind me, the Cherry Creek Bridge, was built in 1946.
Historian Lisa Schock points to some recent success stories.
We were able to preserve the original arch on the bridge while still widening the structure so that it could meet the current transportation needs. We're really looking at some of these bridges that are in this nomination to try to determine if we can balance that. Can we keep it in place and still meet transportation needs in the future?
The bridges come in all different shapes, sizes, and materials.
Zarecillo Canyon, which is on State Highway 12, is a WPA bridge. It's built on a skew and it has really beautiful stone-faced piers. I also really love Rainbow Falls. It's tucked away in a canyon. It carries US 24. A lot of people have gone there to put graffiti on our bridge substructure, so it has this sort of interesting cultural feel to it.
Some bridges were built using local materials, such as volcanic rock on the Rio Seco Creek Bridge in San Luis.
To me, they're historic properties. To the engineers at CDOT, they're functional features.
We look at safety demands, we look at condition, and we look at how we can bring it back up to meet today's safety standards.
For CDOT engineer Michael Collins, that presents a delicate balancing act.
Bridges are kind of like an old house, right? Buying an old house and having that charm and living in it, being able to see it as part of the original design for the landscape of where that bridge is located, trying to retain that as much as possible, but being able to bring it updated to today's safety standards and to be able to bring it back to today's functional needs.
Meeting those needs creates challenges. For example, those old steel truss bridges, they have low vertical clearance issues and
a lot of the safety rail, there's no good place to really mount it on those bridges, and so we have to get creative in how we can try to bring the safety standards back up.
Not easy and not cheap.
Figuring out where the places that you get the most bang for your buck and preserving those links can be, it's something that's a challenge for us as we develop our infrastructure.
It's a conversation CDOT is looking forward to continuing with local communities.
We want people to sort of, broaden the spectrum a little bit of what can be historic and what's important to local and state history.
That's why it is important to keep records, preserve where it is possible to preserve, and make sure that these bridges remain a part of Colorado's history.
CDOT hopes the discussion and appreciation of historic bridges spreads to the county and local levels, so historic bridges which are not owned by the state can also be preserved. When we come back, we'll head to the San Luis Valley to learn the legacy of one of Colorado's earliest diplomats. Also, saving history can sometimes leave a sweet taste in your mouth, literally. We'll look at two sites which have now been saved. Welcome back to Colorado's Most Endangered Places. When we think of Colorado politics, we undoubtedly think of whoever lives here at the governor's mansion. It's where politics meets diplomacy, where high-level visitors get their first taste of Colorado hospitality, and where deals are struck over dinner. Our next site played that same role for early residents and settlers to southern Colorado. The town of Conejos served as the territorial capital. It was a crossroads where Native Americans, Europeans, and Mexicans converged. Maintaining a peaceful coexistence sometimes requires a steady diplomatic hand. In the 1860s, that hand belonged to Lafayette Head. Part of his home still stands, though it shows no signs of its former elegance.
And so I've always had an interest in old adobe buildings. So you can see the size of the logs.
Ron Rail grew up in Conejos, Colorado.
All the openings face this interior courtyard.
As a professor of architecture, he enjoys refurbishing adobe buildings, especially those in his hometown.
I came across this building and it said it was in Conejos, and I had never seen this building in my life, even though I grew up here. These buildings may date back to as far as 1855, when the community from Guadalupe moved across the river and settled here. This would have been one of the more formal rooms
Rail became the newest owner of the oldest buildings in Conejos.
They become layers of history generally, and what I've done here a little bit is expose that history.
These aren't just any oldest buildings, though. They are what is left of the home of Lafayette Head, Colorado pioneer, Indian agent, and first lieutenant governor.
It's referred to in different ways at different times: fort, compound, house, diplomatic center. Certainly, he was the jefe. He was in charge of this site.
Dr. Esteban Rael Galvez wrote about Lafayette Head as part of his dissertation.
He's caught up, as so many young men at that particular period, in an imperial project of manifest destiny to conquer another land.
While the land looked tranquil, it was anything but.
It's an overlapping of empires and contested homelands. This would have been the northern part of the Mexican Republic. Would have been homeland for the Ute people.
Lafayette Head immersed himself in that diversity. He married a Hispanic woman and became well connected to the Native American populations as well.
And in many ways, he was bound up in the entire community.
His compound became a cultural crossroads.
There were Ute delegations settled here on this site, grist mills and sawmills. It was a vast site with so many things going on. What we're looking at here is a courtyard that was once filled with life, surrounded by an adobe building that served as a fort but also served all these other cultural and governmental purposes. This was at one time an interior wall. This part of the house was very formal. It would be where the lieutenant governor received guests, political dignitaries from all over the nation, but also dignitaries of the Ute Nation.
If you think of those primary institutions, political and certainly religious, Lafayette Head was involved in them.
Head went to Washington to meet with President Lincoln and negotiate treaties with the Native American tribes.
Ute people at times reviled him because they felt that he was taking advantage of them. And other times when he is celebrated because he's bringing communities together.
The site harbors signs of a darker chapter in Colorado's history as well.
Part of that history involves the history of slavery in Conejos County. And so within the oral history, this is known to be the slaves' quarters.
Indigenous slavery in the American Southwest often gets skipped over in the history books.
Captives in Conejos County were typically children that were brought into Conejos County and sold to the church and distributed to the community members through adoption.
Lafayette Head, a slave owner himself, created a detailed list of all the indigenous slaves in the area.
This effort resulted by the fact that Andrew Johnson required all Indian agents, all federal agents, to actually end the practice of indigenous slavery.
Today, the town of Conejos shows no signs of its place in Colorado's rich history.
I tell people this was the capital of the territory. They look at me like, what rock did you hit your head on?
Demetrio Valdez lived in the compound as a young child.
You know, there's a plaza there, houses all around. The governor's mansion went from here clear almost to that wall over there.
The part of the compound Valdez lived in has since been torn down.
Once we moved out, you know, kids playing around, broke the windows, broke the doors, you know, vandalized everything.
Back in '65, my dad ordered the county to knock them down.
Michael Giron lived in the part that still stands.
There used to be a door over here.
Giron lived here until 2009. It's sat vacant ever since.
I was glad somebody had bought it, that interest in it. 10 years down the road, I hope to see it alive again.
Pitched Roof is a later addition, and it's an addition that tells the story of the history of the coming of the railroad, of sawmills, of different kinds of technology.
Ron Rail sees opportunities for continued education.
This building, in many ways, is this three-dimensional history lesson that tells a really complex history of the many different kinds of people who occupied this site.
People like Lafayette Head.
For many individuals, he becomes a hero because he's fighting for their rights. But he's, like many people, complicated and layered, just like this site.
Ron Rail hopes to restore Lafayette Head's home to show how it looked in various periods throughout history, as opposed to just one point in time. That way, people can see how it changes in the building over time reflected its changing role in the history of Conejos. When we come back, another Colorado Pioneers barn is saved after a $1 million makeover. But the makeover of a Colorado ski resort threatens a lodge built by Colorado's skiing pioneers. Welcome back to Colorado's Most Endangered Places. I'm Dave Aguilera. The goal of the Endangered Places list is to bring attention to the sites listed in hopes of generating support and, more importantly, money to preserve these sites. Since the list began in 1998, 130 sites have been listed. Of those, 52 have since been saved, including 2 sites just added to the saved list this year. The Goodnight Barn was listed as one of Colorado's most endangered places in 2002. It was originally built in 1870 by Charles Goodnight, the cattle baron whose name is most often associated with the Goodnight-loving trail. The city of Pueblo purchased the barn in 2004 and began the process of raising more than $1 million to rehabilitate the building.
Apple trees want to make apples.
The Gold Medal Orchard in Montezuma County got its name from the award it won at the World's Fair in 1904. When CPI first listed the Gold Medal Orchard in 2015, the original orchard was down to a little less than 7 acres. The landowners partnered with the Montezuma Orchard Restoration Association and a local horticulturalist to regrow these heirloom fruits. Denver's Union Station is a preservation success story. While it was never listed on CPI's Endangered Places list, it stands today in its present form thanks to the tireless work of preservationists who saw promise for a renewed life and importance to downtown Denver. The hotel, restaurants, and shops send a welcoming greeting to travelers passing through what has become a bustling transportation hub for the state.
If you're a day traveler,
one of those trains is the iconic ski train, which carries skiers up to the Winter Park Ski Resort. Winter Park has a redevelopment plan of its own, which threatens one of the oldest buildings. Preservationists hope that they can take lessons learned from Union Station and apply those to the Winter Park Balcony House.
It's all about location, location, location.
Winter Park is synonymous with one thing.
There's so much ski history here, ski jumping to alpine skiing.
In 1940, the top of Berthoud Pass had recently been developed as a ski area, but narrow, winding mountain roads made getting there difficult.
Ski enthusiasts scouted a possible location. Where can we put a ski resort? And the answer was pretty obvious. It was at West Portal.
West Portal was where the railroad emerged from the Moffat Tunnel. Winter Park Ski Resort quickly sprang up at the tunnel entrance.
We had something that no other ski resort had, which is access to a rail line that dropped passengers off right here at the base.
With skiers able to easily make the trek from Denver on the train, Winter Park Resort grew quickly. Resort founders needed a suitable base camp to provide skier services. In 1955, they built Balcony House.
It was designed by, founders of the ski area who weren't even, really quote-unquote architects. But they certainly had the talent.
Architect Jim Johnson says the building's style reflects Winter Park's unique vibe.
It just resonates with the spirit of Winter Park in terms of inventiveness, bold ideas, creative, playful windows. Balconies are, I call them cascading, large windows really opening to the south side, I think feels indigenous to the context of the mountains.
What fabulous architecture, the mid-century modern. The Balcony House has been the anchor for everything that's gone on.
Janet Engel and Wendy Christensen grew up right next door.
This was our front yard. We grew up playing around, learning how to ski.
Our parents owned the ski shop and the ski school here.
It was built the year that Janet was born.
The building's designers relied on their father for advice while designing Balcony House.
He grew up in a plumbing family, so Steve Bradley, talked to Dad about wherefores on how to do some of the plumbing.
The Balcony House served many roles over the years.
Ticket booth, it was the cafeteria.
The place to go in the morning was the coffee and tea market. Our parents at one time owned a soap company, and it was also down where the men's bathrooms are now.
It became the daycare center.
So many reincarnations and reinventions have happened to it, but all along it has always been the place where you go meet at the end of the day.
Today, the coffee shop still showcases the building's unique architecture, but renovations have covered over the building's once prominent role in Winter Park's history.
Part of history, too, is evolution, right? So things need to change with the changing needs of our market and our demographics and the skiers.
Winter Park CEO Sky Folks says competition drives change.
What's core to our DNA, we need to keep, but when we think about services and facilities, it needs to evolve with the customer base.
We've always really done things here to honor our history. Part of history is architecture, etc. But the real basis of history is the culture.
Gary DeFrange oversaw the creation of the master plan, which will shape Winter Park's future. The existing balcony house does not figure into that plan. DeFrange says the building is nearing the end of its useful life.
If you look at this building, number one, structurally, it's a real challenge. I can't tell you how many times when I was here we had to go in and reinforce the foundation of this building. The building itself just does not function or accommodate what we need to do to take care of skiers and visitors and their families and riders year-round.
He says the plans pay tribute to the history of the site.
There's a way to rebuild this building, and there's a way to maintain the history and show that we're respecting the history, not only of the building, but of Steve Bradley, who was the guy that built it.
Those wanting to save the building see things differently.
There's really no bad time to save a classic building.
Jim Johnson worked on the renovation of Denver's Union Station. He sees the same potential in Balcony House, mixing the old with new construction behind it.
There's definitely a win-win approach to this whole thing where, you know, the great parts of the Balcony House can be saved, the less functional parts can be eliminated, but you keep the essence of the design and you get a magic out of the result.
Many view historic preservation in terms of either or. Either we keep this building or we demolish it. And it really needs to be reframed as both and. We can have both this historic building and have thoughtful additions to it that service the needs of a growing ski resort.
For those who grew up on the front porch of Balcony House, preserving the building maintains the vision of Winter Park's developers.
We both grew up with the man that designed it and built it, and he was amazing in himself. It's a tribute to his vision, too. And I don't want to lose that.
Winter Park CEO Sky Folks says the ski industry has changed since the master plan was first put together. So many aspects of the plan are open to reevaluation as they work to meet the evolving needs of skiers. Saving Colorado's history means more than just restoring old buildings. Saving our history allows us to grow, but not forget where we came from. It preserves the cultural richness which defines who we are. And by doing that, we can pass along to others an appreciation of what makes Colorado and Coloradans so special. I'm Dave Aguilera. Thanks for watching.